up to this point, we've really introduced all the maneuvers, both private, commercial, and all the performance landings, and we've touched on all that. So the day's just primary focus is going to be honing all that in and getting it within standards. Specifically landings, because moving over to the right seat, the sight picture adjustment takes some time. So that's going to be a primary focus today. So performance maneuvers, we're going to be knocking out Chandelle, lazy 8, 8s on pylons. We're also going to dip into steep spiral and talk about emergency operations from that. And then after we take care of those performance maneuvers, we're going to go to either Terrell, Mesquite, or Caddo, somewhere like that, and knock out our performance landings to soft field takeoff, short field takeoff, and then soft field, short field landings. Any questions on any of that?
Oh, sounds good.
Cool. We made it out to the practice area. So let's go ahead and get set up to start doing some of these performance maneuvers. First things first, get that pre-maneuver checklist knocked out. And then again, just from CFI perspective, traffic avoidance is going to shift more into that right seat role here. So we really want to make sure that we're taking our time with this, clearing the area both visually and using our MFD here, making sure there's no traffic in the air when we start these maneuvers. And then just talking through these clearing turn here, nice shallow, 20, 30 degrees of bank. Take our time with it. We're looking for traffic and other obstacles that may not be apparent on our MFD here. Go ahead and get your heading bug adjusted. 9-0. Alright, so stage 1 CFI is more of doing all the performance maneuvers within ACS standards, and then stage 2 is going to be both performing them to standards and teaching through it. So today I'm going to do more of the talking aspect and have you perform it, but obviously any feedback you have from doing these in commercial, any common errors, anything like that you want to talk through while doing these, obviously feel free to do that. So purpose of the Chandelle, by now hopefully you know what that is.
Maximum performance climb.
Yeah, maximum performance climb, right? So in going to a teaching perspective here, we got to take our time with everything, make sure the student understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then obviously the setup's an extremely important part. You'll see that a lot of folks like to rush getting into these, so make sure we emphasize the setup's very important. Take your time with that. Let's get our airspeed correct. Let's go make sure our power setting's good. So let's go and bring out that power to probably 2350 RPM. We want to be somewhere 100 to 105 knots here. We need to start all of the maneuvers within maneuvering speed, 98 to 113. So our maneuver guide's going to have about 100 knots for you to start the Chandelle. So somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't get married to that 100 number. We just want to get close. Then notice here we got some traffic coming up. So we can use this FMS knob, go down to traffic map, click flight ID, and see who that is. It's not one of our people, so we can't communicate with them as easily on our air-to-air frequency. So my suggestion would be let's just do a quick 360 and let them pass, and then we'll start this maneuver. The last thing we want to try to do when doing a maneuver and trying to perform it to standards is have to worry about hitting somebody else. So if there's ever a concern, if we're too close, it's better to just play it on the safe side, maneuver in another direction. Actually, let's just roll out on a northbound heading. It doesn't look like they're going very fast. So we'll start north. We just did another clearing turn there. And once we get here, let's get that altitude set up, airspeed set up, power setting, make sure all that's good, and then we can pick our point and start the Chandelle. We typically start Chandelles to the left, and then we'll do one to the right subsequently.
I think it's going to be the middle of the lake over there.
Middle of the lake, good. Yeah, pick something nice and big and far away that's going to be easy to identify. Be nice and methodical with your entry here, right? We're going to go bank 30 degrees first, keep that nose down, add full power in, and then slowly start pitching up. As we come to that middle of the lake or our 90-degree point, we want to be just now reaching our maximum pitch up, which is about 16, 17, 18 degrees. Perfect. And then from here, we're going to hold that and slowly start letting out that bank. Nice pace, good. And then constantly letting out that pitch. Nope, hold that pitch up, constantly letting out that bank. Sorry about that. ACS standards for this is minimal loss in altitude on the recovery. So as we roll out on that 180-degree heading, give it a little bit more right rudder there, stay coordinated.
Stall, good. Stall.
You hear the stall horn, that's okay. Just let out a little bit of that back pressure so that we're not getting On the verge of a stall the entire time. Other than that was really smooth, really good. So the first half of this, constant bank, change in pitch. The second half is a constant pitch and change in bank. Now solid. We'll slowly recover from this here, and then whenever you're ready and reset up for cruise, we can go to the right side. The other thing you want to tell students on this is the left is going to be much easier than the right because all of our left turning tendencies help keep us coordinated on that left side.
Yeah.
So going into the right side, we're going to need to be proactive with that right foot to keep us coordinated.
There's 100. Same point?
Yep, same point. Right back into it, 30 degrees of bank.
Keep the nose down.
Yeah, keep at the rise of full power, and then slowly start pitching up here.
There's our point.
Good. Got a nice, good tempo here. Keep that rudder coming. As we get slower, that nose is going to get heavier, so anticipate that. Keep bringing that nose back. Good. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Good, good, good.
Stall, 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 stall,
Stalling, so let out a little bit of that back pressure.
stall.
Very nice. All right, very well done. Let's go ahead and level off 4,200. Any questions on that one?
No.
Cool. Let's get us turned back around to the south, and then we'll get set up for a lazy 8. As we get ready to move you towards stage 2, we kind of talked about this the other day. Keeping us in a general area of where we want to end up is going to be important so that we make the most use out of every flight. So I know after this we're going to be going into doing a steep spiral, and today I want to practice doing that over a field. So I'm going to keep us in the vicinity of this airport by just changing our heading and course between maneuvers. If we just fly one direction for 20, 30 minutes practicing maneuvers, we'll likely end up in an area that is not close or nearby somewhere where we want to do the second part of the flight. So from a timing and efficiency standpoint, just keep that in the back of your mind. Don't be afraid to change course, change heading to keep you in a general area, especially to dodge traffic or dodge other airports if needed.
Swap things.
Yeah. Cool.
Right, so what's next?
Next, we got the Lazy 8. So the purpose of the Lazy 8 is to demonstrate the overbanking tendencies. We touched on this a little bit on the first flight that we did 2 days ago, but to just kind of reiterate on that. The most common mistake I see on this is people rushing it, right? They want to get there and they want to get there quickly. The Lazy 8 is a maneuver of patience and letting the airplane do what it wants to do. It wants to overbank, so we're going to kind of guide it in that direction and then prevent it from going too far. So this maneuver should be a nice fluid maneuver. From start to finish, it should take about a minute or two. So if we're rushing to get to specific points and all that, this maneuver is going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, I used to have trouble with that. I would over control it.
Yep, same here. I'd over control it. I would have too much power, too little power. So giving your students a good heads up of what to expect of this is going to set them up for success, and also let them know doing this the first time, it's not going to be great. Like that's okay. We want to get there after a couple reps. So really important we have the correct power setting. If we start with too much power here, what's going to happen when we bring that nose down? So our RPMs are going to get too high, and then it's going to be next to impossible to finish this within standards from the altitude requirement. So I always tell folks, really take your time setting up for this. Obviously, don't take 5 or 10 minutes to set up for every maneuver. Like, take the extra 30 seconds to make sure your power setting's good. And there's more than one way to skin this cat. Some people do it all on their own. Some people put on autopilot and let autopilot trim it for you. I've never been a fan of that, but to each their own. My recommendation here, get to between 103 and 105. The conditions of the day are going to determine the RPM setting. So in a warmer climate, you're probably going to need more RPM. In a colder climate, you'll need less RPM just from a power and performance standpoint. So today, I would get to 4,200. Let's level us off. When you bring that nose down, that airspeed's going to creep up a little bit. So I would probably start just under 2,400 RPM today. And that'll get us right at the 103, 104, 105 area. Good.
There we are.
Then from here, we can pick out our visual reference points again. Pick out something far away and easy to identify. If you pick a water tower, there's typically 50 water towers. It can be hard to find. So like that road right there, that 45s, that would be a good one. That big body of water. And then we've got more bodies of water. We got another pipeline or power line right there. Something like that you could pick for your third point.
Yeah, I'll do the road, that body of water, and then that one back there.
Good. All right. So now I'll do another quick check. Make sure we're starting at the right altitude.
I bet so.
We start 50 feet low or high, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. So let's get back to 42. It'll only take a second or two, and then you can go ahead and start. Getting into this maneuver, I say just bank 5 degrees and then slowly start pulling up. So bank 5, a little bit slower on the pull up, a little bit slower. We should be pretty much neutral aileron here, and we're just going to gradually pitch up. As we come to our 45 point, we should be at about 15 and 15. As you can see, we're getting there. We're right at that 15 mark. Hold that 15, let that wing start to drop down so we can get that 30 degrees of bank, and then we're slowly going to start letting it slide through the horizon. Manage that descent. We don't want to go too fast. Good. Bring that pitch down. I say hold about 7.5, pitch down. Once you get to 90 knots, start slowly pitching back up. Good. Coming to our 135 here. Should be letting out that bank. And then we're finishing a little bit higher, so bring that nose back down. Good. We're about 60 feet high right here. Not a big deal. Just give the airplane a second to trim back out. And then once we're ready, we can start on that other side. Slightly fast here, so I would recommend pitching up some to bleed off a little bit of that airspeed before we start the next side. Good. And we can't touch power between this maneuver, right? It's an energy management exercise. So whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and start to that right side. Same concept as before, nice and patient. You're just going to need more right rudder this time. Keep pitching us up here. A little bit more. Keep it coming, Want to get to 15. Good, let that wing down to 30 now. Start slicing our horizon. Nice and easy. Very good. Just hold right there to 90, start pitching back up.
Aviation is reporting calm. Altimeter 2986. And that was...
So right now we finished a little bit fast. We bring that nose back up, we should slow it down. We just took a little bit longer than we wanted to on that recovery. So let's try that again, but this time I want you to start with about 50 less RPM than we started last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2360, 2370 should be fine.
Alright.
Good. All right, 105, 2340, let's do it.
Same points.
I don't know, it will still probably use 32. See what everybody else is doing.
Good. Much nicer. Airspeed's right where we started. Altitude's looking perfect. Good. And then right back into that right side. This time, no, we need a little bit more right rudder.
Sounds good.
Letting that come down, yep. Never quite made it to that 15 pitch up, so we need to be a little bit more aggressive on that right side.
Beaton Road approach.
Good. All right, much better. Just need to keep an eye out on that. Pitch a little bit better on the right side, but other than that, that was good. Any questions?
Nope.
Cool. All right, let's head west. like I said earlier, I want to practice our steep spiral and emergency operations over a field where we can actually get pretty close to landing. So this airport we're not approved to land at, 1 Foxtrot 7, but we can do a nice, good low approach here. So we can take it to about 100 feet off the ground. That's going to really give us a good idea if we hit our point or not. It's also going to give us some practice managing our sight picture for airports that have smaller runways. It's very easy to overshoot a point on a 3,000 foot runway when we're used to landing on 8,000 feet. So fly us north. We got our headwind right here, so we're going to go north, and then we're going to come back and cut west. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and climb up to a good altitude to do a steep spiral. So we got to recover 1,500 AGL. We start at, you can anticipate to lose anywhere from 600 to 800 feet per revolution. I tell people if you want to turn your brain off and do this, climb to 3,000 feet above whatever the field elevation is, and that should set you up pretty well. And while we're flying now, we can just kind of talk about emergency operations in general. When you're briefing your student on this, one, you want to start at a higher altitude than you normally would for the building blocks of success, right? We set them up for success. We might introduce 1 or 2 things at a time, and then we'll slowly make it more and more challenging. But starting from a higher altitude, that's going to give us more time to get our airspeed, take a point, run through our checklist, and really take our time and get the flow going.
Yeah.
If we start them out 2,000 feet off the ground and we give them an emergency and we just make it really intense and rush them, it's not going to set the precedent for what we want that emergency flow to look like, right? So don't want to make a bad situation worse. We're going to focus on airspeed first. In this case, we've already kind of picked our place to land, but if we didn't have a place to pick, we would have that. That would be our second step. And then we're going to run our memory items on our checklist, and then we're slowly going to start executing the emergency landing checklist after we've done our engine failure checklist. Any questions on that so far?
Nope.
Cool. Alright, so my controls for a second.
Got it.
See it right off our wing here?
Yeah.
That's it.
Bridgeport traffic, 700 Foxtrot Alpha on the upwind runway 18, Bridgeport traffic.
We'll fly for just a few more seconds and then we'll kind of 180 back on top of it. And you can also do this as a surprise since you don't got to let them know what's happening either. You can just kind of vector them around while you're doing maneuvers and then be like, oh no, we just lost our engine, and you'll conveniently be over an airfield. Otherwise, you can only take it to about 500 feet off the ground, and then it's kind of hard to judge whether or not they would have made their point. All right, so let's go ahead and start that 180 now. Keep that field inside us returning.
456 Foxtrot, and about base for 18, touch go, Bridgeport.
And the idea here is we kind of want to we don't want to be right on top of it. We want to be able to see it, and we want to set up to where we can go into the appropriate downwind for the runway we want to land on.
We're doing a full top low. We're going to taxi back to Charlie and exit 16. Gainesville traffic, twin tax number 642 Alpha Alpha.
And they also conveniently have a windsock, so that should help you out determining which runway you want to land on.
RNAV 36, stop and go, Gainesville.
Cool. All right, go ahead and level us off here. Set up in the headwind. Ready to do this?
Yep.
All right, so simulated engine out.
Gainesville traffic, 78072.
Also, let's see if you're going to want to guard the mixture whenever they're doing this, just to make sure they don't accidentally pull that mixture. It's happened a couple times.
For touch go, Bridgeport.
That's so airspeed first. So steep spiral, we want to be at 80. Normal emergencies, we want to be at 76. And then trim is your friend to help manage that airspeed.
43 Foxtrot, Juliet. Runway 18, Bridgeport.
Poach Ranch, 572 over the field, 4,000, steep spiral, simulated engine out, Poach Ranch. Still got that field in sight. Good.
3 miles, Cessna 799 or 19er, 3 miles.
Up every revolution.
Movie joining micro.
And then just note here, as our ground speed increases, our bank should also increase. We shouldn't have a constant bank here unless there's zero wind. As our ground speed slows down, we'll shallow our bank out, and that'll keep us over our point.
Turning left downwind, runway 18, Bridgeport traffic.
So we'll do a minimum of 3 spirals here. After we finish that third spiral, I'm going to let you use your own ADM and determine if we need to do another one or if you want to set us up for a downwind, extend that out, put us in the base, whatever you want to do. Looks like 3-1 is going to be the runway here today, based on that windsock. Poacher Ranch is 572. We'll fly in the field, 3,000 feet, C-spiral, simulated engine out, Poacher Ranch. Good. Starts shallow that bank out as that ground speed decreases. And we've pretty much stayed exactly where we started. This looks good.
Switchboard traffic, 45, security Foxtrot, left downwind, departing east.
Gonna have to do another one.
Sorry, left cross,
Yep.
departing east, switchboard.
So we've done 3 revolutions now. We've lost, what, 1,700 feet?
Yeah.
8, switchboard. Kendall traffic, contact number.
So, in an emergency scenario, above 1,500 AGL, we'd want to go and do the emergency landing checklist after we did all of our memory items, right?
Right.
So what's that emergency landing checklist going to look like?
Squawking 7,700, 121.5, telling them what's happening and where we're landing.
Okay, so what's happening? Where are we landing?
Plan on
We
making
got an
a
engine
left
out, and
midfield
we're landing
downwind
at
for runway 36.
T4, what was the name of T48?
Yep, Poacher Ranch.
Our Gainesville is re-entering the left to downwind runway 3, Victor Gainesville from the midfield overhead.
Anything else we need to do?
Cessna 7909 or 19er approaching.
Make sure seatbelt secure, panel switches all off, throttle out, make sure cut off, magnetos off,
downwind
and fuel
for runway
off.
36. Switchboard traffic,
Okay, so now we're pretty low to the ground, so let's focus on landing on our point.
Try to join a left downwind over here.
Okay. Poacher Ranch is 572, overfly the field, 1,500 for a direct entry into left downwind for 31 Poacher Ranch. At this point in time, if it felt like you needed some flaps, we could do that. We're pretty low to the ground right now, though, so I would advise against that.
Scheduled traffic, twin tech number 642, Alpha Alpha is 2 mile final, RNF36, stop and go, schedule.
What are you thinking?
Switchboard traffic 769 is there, Papa 3 miles.
One too many 360s?
Maybe.
Switchboard traffic, 4528 Foxtrot, 3.5 miles east, 2000, departure to the east, switchboard.
Alright, let's go ahead and go around.
Alpha, turn final, 180.
Alright, so one too many 360s on that one. It's always better to do a little bit less than too much, right? If we do that extra one and we can't recover from it. So I'll tell people is get into that downwind, and then once you're established in the downwind, it's a much easier to gauge your sight picture on how much float we're going to have, right? We came out of that maybe 1,000 feet off the ground, and we still had to come off on the other side. Alternatively, you probably could have done a right 360 into the right downwind and not have to travel so far, and that may have been a little bit easier for us. But you get the idea there. That's going to give a more realistic scenario if you're over a field and you've got to just land directly on it, what that energy management perspective looks like. And then just don't forget, in the event of emergency, always run the bold items first. So fuel pump, mixture, fuel selector, run through all that. Alt air and magnetos if nothing came back on. And then once you've established your engine's not running, then you can continue to your emergency landing checklist.
Entering a left midfield downwind.
Alright, let's set up for an 8 on pylon. You don't have to climb back up. Alright, so on days like today, where there's not a ton of wind, if we just sit around here and chase the wind diamond all day long, we're never going to accomplish anything. So we have 2 choices. One, we can figure out what 45 of the left to downwind is before we even fly by looking at the winds aloft chart, which is advantageous. Or the second thing we can do is once we get on a assigned heading, from here we can just kind of see about what our downwind was, which was about an easterly heading was downwind whenever we just left that airport. So if I go 45 left of the east heading, it's going to put me at about 045 or 050, 2050. And then now once I get set up for this, we can establish our pivotal altitude. We want to make sure we get in the 45 of the downwind before we do that. About 100 knots, so our ground speed's 105, so what's going to make that for our pivotal altitude? You can use that chart in the back of your checklist.
About 735 plus 500.
Okay, so what's that going to put us at?
About 1,300.
Okay. Let's drop us down, and then obviously, let's round up and do 1,400.
Yeah.
And then we've got that delta coming up here, so we want to make sure that we get started on this here in the next 30 seconds to 60 seconds so we don't get too close to that delta while we're maneuvering. Alright, so we're at our pivotal altitude, we've got everything figured out. Looks like we're in the 45 left to downwind, so that's good. Now we just got to find a pylon. Anything stick out to you?
Blue roof down there.
Alright. Good, bank into it, and then from here, our bank shouldn't really change. We're using our pitch attitude and ground speed keep our lateral axis on that point. So pitch down. First part of this, we're always going to have to pitch down as we're going into that wind. Good. And from here, we can make some small adjustments, but typically the first half of this, we're going to be pitching down. The second half, we'll be bringing that nose back up as we get into the headwind. Keep that bank consistent. The only time we should really be changing our bank here would be if there's a lot of wind pushing us around, which there's not today. So keep that nose down, get that ground speed back up. Good. Where do we roll out on this at from?
From our 270.
270, all right. So we started at 050. Where's 270 going to be?
140.
All right. Coming up on that now. Good. Level out. Count to 8 to 10. Nice and slow like.
3, 4, 5.
Actually looks like we got a water tower right there. That'll probably work good.
8, 9.
Yeah, you're good. Just wait until that wing gets over that. Good. Now, same thing on this one. First part of this, we should need to pitch down to keep that lateral axis on that point. As you can see, we're a little bit behind it. There you go. Good. In the second half, we should start slowly pitching up here. Watch that bank. We want to keep the same bank here. Very good. Nice and smooth today.
Then here's our original heading.
Yeah, so roll out on that. Looks like we started with just a little bit less power than we want, so let's bring that up to about 2,300 RPM. Flying on this heading, that blue roof house should be right here on our left. So we're just going to do the same pylons again. And then roll out on there, and then our original point is going to be right down there on our left. And then we could just keep doing that in perpetuity. Cool. All right, that's our performance maneuvers today, so let's go ahead to Terrell and we'll do our landings.
All right.
Turn these off for a minute while we head over there. Performance takeoff and landings portion of this lesson. So in no particular order, we're going to work on short field takeoff, soft field takeoff, then we're going to work on soft field landing, short field landing, and our power off 180s here. So, and today we're going to be simulating the real thing on the short field landing. So we are going to be picking a point and actually applying maximum braking and exiting the runway, taxiing back. just to get a couple reps of that in. Any questions or anything?
Nope.
All right, cool. So short field landing, just simulating taking off short runway, clearing a 50-foot obstacle. So let's go ahead and get our 2 flaps in here. Very good. We're at tail. Looks like nobody's here. Nobody's in the pattern, so we got the runway to ourselves. Go ahead and cue up the mic, make the call, and let them know we're going to be taking 18 and staying in the pattern.
Tail traffic, thrust 572, departing 18, staying in the pattern, tail traffic.
Very good. Then always remind your students we're going to utilize maximum available runway, so this will be the only time we'll kind of come off center line here. Veer slightly off to the left just to get every last foot we can. Okay, that's good. Get us on center line here, finals clear. All right, mash those brakes in. Power.
Yeah, these are good.
Green, RPM up. All yours. Keep hand on that throttle. There you go.
Rotate at 55.
Yep, rudder corrections as needed. Airspeed's alive. As we start approaching 50, start giving some back pressure. So 55, we can get off the ground. Good. Slowly start pulling back here and get us off. Beautiful. Pitch for 60. Yep.
Cleared 50 foot.
And hold 64 for 200. Like you've done this before.
A few times.
Once or twice. So takeoffs on CFI level aren't quite as challenging just because you've done them so many times already. It's just the landing piece and the sight picture that usually takes a few reps to get a feel for it. Even though you're only moving over about 18 inches from one side to the other, that sight picture messes us for a little bit.
It feels completely different.
And you're using different hands, like right-hand dominant people going from left to right, they tend to over-control the airplane, tend to have too much right rudder in. So we'll just have to kind of break that down and get some good habits instilled right out the gate. All right, so first landing here, we're going to do a short field, full stop taxi back. Short field, we're going to simulate again landing on a short field, so we're going to pick a point that represents that, which is going to be the numbers. We got -0 plus 100 feet. Another thing I want to emphasize now, and I want for you to emphasize to your students in the future as well, is go-arounds do not cost you anything when doing a short field landing. Do not intentionally, under any circumstances, land this plane long if you know you're going to be long. That is an automatic fail on any stage check, check ride, EOC, etc. If you know you're going to be long, go around. Do not force this plane down. Do not intentionally land 500 feet long. I had somebody the other day tell me, oh, I'm going to land long, but I'm just going to put it down smooth. And after the flight, I'm like, you got a working engine. This isn't a power off 180. If you're going to be long, go around, try again. Now, if you go around 5 times in a row, that's a whole different story. But one go around here or there is not bad.
Fuel swap.
All right, we're sure we're on the right tank. We're good.
Okay.
All right, let's go make that downwind call and then get set up for our numbers here.
Tail traffic, thrust 572, left downwind for 18, tail traffic.
Good. All right, good pattern makes good landing. So let's slow us down a little bit. Should be 90 to 95 knots here, 2100 or so RPM. And just hold us at TPA. When we get a BMR point, what are we going to do?
We will begin descending. Power 1500.
Power 15, flap. Start that descent. Good. Another thing you're going to want to emphasize to your students, because some get this instilled in them at the beginning, some don't, is use of trim on all phases of the pattern. So downwind, base, final, use the trim, either this trim or the trim wheel, so you're not fighting the airplane the whole way down.
There we are at Bing.
Yeah.
Power 15. And 1 flap.
And like we were talking about yesterday, pick out good reference points for our patterns. That'll help us fly a nice consistent pattern. Here at Terrell, that orange roof house for 1/8's a good one.
Terrell traffic, thrust 572, left base, 18, Terrell.
Pitch for 80, trim out back pressure. And then here, the 1500 power setting from a beam point is just a recommendation to get us set up. If we need to make some small adjustments, now is the time to do that. On a day like today where we don't have a ton of wind, we're likely going to need to continue to bring some more power out so that we can hit our point. Like right now, just from sight picture alone, I can tell we're slightly high, so I'd recommend taking out another 100 or 200 RPM. And once we get on final, we'll be able to see our pappies, and then we can make some more adjustments. Short fields, it's absolutely okay to come in a little bit high. We are clearing a 50-foot obstacle, but we don't want to be 4 white high. Maybe 3 white and a red would be good. Oh, pappies just turned off. Pitch to bring that nose up, get us to 70. Short final, we want to transition to 61. We look high or low right now?
Pretty high.
High, so let's get to 61. Let's do a little slip if we need to. Alright, that should be good. Let's get us back on center line here. Add in a little bit of power, a little bit of low. Good. More power, more power. Pitch us up a little bit. Good. More power. Yeah. Oh. Alright, go ahead and come to a stop. Easy, don't lock us up, don't lock us up, don't lock us up.
Foot got caught.
Alright, go ahead and go. We're going to try that one again. Alright, so you notice on that one, we're coming in really low, and we're landing flat. Alright, so we want to come in at a positive pitch attitude, and we want to land mains first, and then nose gear. So let me demo this one, my controls,
Got controls.
and I'll give you a better idea of what that sight picture should look like. Also, when we do those slips, if we're going to do a slip, I want you to commit to it. Do a full slip, don't do a half slip, do a full slip. The idea is we get down to the appropriate altitude we want, and then we get back into a stabilized descent. A prolonged slip doesn't really do us any good if it's just like a halfway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alright, same thing here. Let's pick out some reference points for our pattern. That warehouse and that power plant over there are good downwind ones for 1A here in Terrell.
Terrell traffic, Careflight 4 is about 4.5 miles west of the field. Will be inbound for the Careflight ramp lane to the south, remaining west of the runways at all times.
Okay, I'm at TPA here. Bring that nose down, start bringing the power out.
Careflight 4, Apex area, can I bring you some fuel?
Yes, sir. We'll be inbound in 2 minutes for Careflight 4.
After that.
Delta 572, up downwind 18, full stop Terrell. Good, alright, so we're right on this warehouse. I've got that power plant off my nose here. Gonna get us down to 2100 RPM and about 90 knots. And then make any wind corrections we need to keep us in the downwind. So the final segment of this is going to be the most important. So we want to be 70 knots final, 61 short final. And when we're transitioning to that short final aspect, we're really going to have to be adjusting the power. If we're not adjusting the power a lot here, we're likely not going to have a very stable approach because we're using that power to manage our descent. If there's no wind, you know, you might be able to get away with just 1 or 2 power adjustments, but oftentimes you'll see me making some pretty consistent power adjustments to stay on that point. Alright, right to beam our point here.
Silver Springs traffic, Skog 8241 is on left cross.
Out about 15. First flap here. We got that helicopter come in, so we'll keep an eye out for him. Should be no factor. They're going to stay west of that extended center line.
Terrell traffic, Careflight 4 short base to final for the Careflight ramp remaining west of the runways at all times. We have the aircraft with the pattern in sight.
Okay. Then we're going to bring up that downwind out a little bit farther than we're used to because we're going for the numbers here, right? So turning base, second flap, looking for 80 knots. Set traffic to 572 left base, 18, full stop, Terrell. And then any
traffic,
power adjustments needed here we can make.
Is on left
I actually like where we're at right now, so I'm going to leave it alone. Just make sure I keep the right airspeed and descent until we get on final. Then we're going to square our wing up with the runway here.
Transitioning.
That'll help with any type of wind correction we need. Got that airplane, helicopter in sight, looks good. Feel a little bit high right now, so I'm going to take out just another maybe 100, 200 RPM.
Silver North Range traffic, Scott 8241 X-ray is on left downwind, departing the pattern to the northeast. Silver Springs.
Alright. Get that last flap in, 70 knots. And then just going to pick a point about 100 feet in front of the numbers that I want to aim for. Get a little bit more power, feel a little bit high right now. But as soon as I get to 61, I need to be ready to add that power right back in. And then it should feel like a string's pulling us right down to the ground here. Take out some power. Managing that airspeed, staying at 60, 61 the whole time here. Bring it in. Positive pitch attitude. Keep us on center line.
Tail traffic, Cessna 627 Mike, transitioning west to east, 4 miles south of the airfield at 2,900 feet. Tail traffic.
Any questions?
Nope.
And then I'd pick a point probably about 30, 40 feet from the beginning of the runway. That's our aiming point.
Aerial traffic thrust about 72 left base, turning final 18 tail traffic.
So like the grass.
Yeah, just before the runway there. A little high. Good. Transitioning to 61 here, short final. Very good. I like those power adjustments, just like that. The string's just pulling us right there. Looks good. Bend those up just a little bit. We're getting a little fast. There you go. A little bit more. A little bit more. Good. Oh, we're going to be a little short.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, just need a little bit more flare there.
Yeah.
That was much better. You can make small power adjustments all the way to landing. So really, I think right now it's just the side picture piece that's kind of messing you up, but we didn't need more power, we just needed a little bit more flare there to get us to our point.
Yeah.
And you got 100 feet to play with, so it's better to land slightly long than short. Like I was probably 50 feet or so long on mine. It wasn't 100% perfect, but it doesn't have to be 100% perfect either. All right, let's do a soft field.
All right.
All right, so same thing on that last one. We want to pick a point. We want to try to be consistent with our landings. We don't want to land halfway down the runway. So pick maybe either the numbers of that first stripe to come in at. We'll come in at 70 knots. A little bit more energy as we get over the runway. We'll walk that power out, get into ground effect, hold that nose up, and then just slowly keep bringing that aft pressure. ACS stays on the soft field landing to bring that pressure aft until you loss of effectiveness. So as soon as we land, we're going to keep bringing it back. We're obviously not going to tail strikes. We're just going to slowly continue bringing it back until we've bled off enough airspeed that that nose just naturally wants to come down. And then just be sure to leave those crosswind corrections all the way in throughout touchdown and the roll. Otherwise, we're going to get blown off center line.
Aerial traffic thrust about 72 left base 18 tail traffic. Aerial traffic thrust about 72, final 18 tail traffic.
Airspeed looks good. Last flap. And bring that nose up some here. You're right at the horizon. Good. Heading right for those numbers. I like it. And nose up just a little bit more. Air of left rudder. Right on, good. Get that crosswind correction in.
traffic goes 565, we're about 5 knots
Stall,
to the northeast,
stall.
going to be inbound, going to make a right to your traffic turn downwind for runway 18.
That's it. Well done.
Yeah.
Might be your best one yet.
Yeah, that was definitely the best one yet.
Fantastic. Only the first few is tough, but every landing should get a little bit better. That one was pretty much perfect. The only thing I'd advise too is just keep your hand on that power in case something happens. We need to go around your hands right there. All right, now we just got to do a P180.
All right.
So on this one, once we get in the downwind, request the power off 180, and then I want you to just kind of talk me through your thought process here. Include things like wind, how that's gonna impact our power off 180 today. Like I mentioned yesterday, consistency in your pattern is really important on the power off 180s. You want to be at a consistent airspeed and a consistent altitude. So 90 knots at TPA, a consistent distance away from the runway, whatever that is, 0.75 or a mile away. You can use this. You can use visual reference points. There's more than one way to skin this cat here, but we just want to be consistent so we can maintain a consistent sight picture.
All right.
Otherwise, if it's 10 knots today wind, 20 knots tomorrow, and then it comes back to 10 knots, but we're at all these different altitudes and airspeeds and locations, it's going to be really hard to develop that good ADM. Ski Tower 527, can we just make these touch and goes from here forward?
Coast 557, runway 36, clear touch and go.
Clear touch and go 36 is 527. All right, cut it. See what you got.
All right, so I'll slowly pitch for 76.
All right.
Add a flap as I get there. And I'm looking at our winds, so we got 11 knot. It'll be a left crosswind, so I'll have to turn in a little sharper up here.
Yep.
But I'll just gently start turning towards the runway. Trying to gauge how high or low we are. Looks like I'll need a second flap already.
Yeah, do we feel high or low right now?
Pretty high.
Pretty high.
589, we'd like to make a downwind departure to the southwest.
I'll go ahead now.
Number 99 Romeo, proceed on course over I-20, change frequencies.
On course over I-20, change frequencies, 589 Romeo.
All right, I'll slip here to lose some altitude. Yeah, don't get too fast here. I like it. Set nose up a little bit here so we don't get too much airspeed. Just on center line here. Nice and easy. Smooth, 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 smooth.
Stall, stall,
A little bit more.
stall, stall,
Oh.
stall, stall.
Hit the point,
Gave
but
him
I
on
was
that crosswind at the end.
Yeah, I was off center line. Ski Tower 557, left downwind requesting short approach.
Coast 557, short approach approved, runway 36, clear touch and go.
Short approach approved, 36 clear, touch and go, Coast 557.
All right. Airspeed altitude looking okay. Small corrections. Perfect. All right, cut it. .500 feet off the ground.
A little slow.
Yeah, bring that nose down some. Let's lose a little bit of altitude. I like this. Airspeed looks good, altitude looks good. What are we thinking on flaps? Good?
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I think you're alright. Gonna be floating a while. I think you're alright. Get us on center line. A little bit of left rudder. There you go. It's nice and easy. Nice and easy.
Stall.
Yeah.
Stall.
Money.
Yeah.
That was fun.